The Rebel Capitalist Show.
I would assume that you believe that Bitcoin is going to be the future of money, and it's going to be transactional. Or maybe you don't. I don't put words in your mouth.
Not just the future of money. See, I think that just makes it too small, right? It's the foundation for the new system.
Yeah, for decentralized, right? Because we don't need banks. We don't need.
But
There's so
it's
many
not
things that we don't need.
it's not just money, right? So what do I mean by that? So the internet is the internet of information, right? We can transfer information. The problem with the internet is that it's been taken over, and so everything's become centralized. So today, first graders in school are on Google Chromebooks, right? The first thing they know about the world is Google.
Right.
And then they go on to social media, and then they have on YouTube. So all we have is these centralized institutions. That's all they know. Their money is PayPal or Venmo, but that's a centralized institution that still works under the bank. And so the internet was good at transferring information, but then it kind of got captured because of these centralized institutions. And as we know, remember, the whole world was moving to centralization. So the central bank, the Fed, all those things. And my quote that I like to say all the time is that centralization always leads to manipulation.
Yeah, right.
And that's the problem with gold, right? They centralized the gold and then they just printed a bunch of fiat off of it. And so the way that I kind of see this shaking out now, as to your point, it doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen quickly in the fourth turning. But even still, if you go back and study, when the dollar took over reserve currency status from the sterling, it was about a 30 to 40 year process. So it's a messy process, to your point. I believe this will play out over the next decade, and it again coincides with the WEF's goal. They have a decade long goal as well, right? So by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. And so it's a process. But what I'm seeing is that, I guess, to kind of set the stage a little bit, the way that the internet changed information as we know it. So what do I mean by that? So before the internet, information was probably just considered what I got in the newspaper in the morning and what I saw on my nightly news. Today, my idea of information is totally different. I might see somebody post a picture on the beach in Hawaii, and I got all this information of what the weather's like, what the waves are like, what the tide's like, if the conditions are good, right? And so now information's everywhere and it's all around us, right?
Yeah, right.
And I believe that the way that we view wealth will also change, right? And value, and maybe the word value. So I like to kind of interchange the word money for value. Like, how do I store my value, right? What's gold? A store of value, if you think about it like that. And so a couple things. One, think about this for a second. Like, since all of humanity, since you and I were the first two people on Earth, I was afraid you're going to come kill me and take my chickens. So you and I band together, and now those people are going to come take our chickens and our goats. So a village forms, and now that village is going to come take our wealth, and then a kingdom's form, and then they come steal our gold. And then what's the role of the government? To protect the people. Protect the people from what? From another country coming and stealing our wealth. Imagine the shift in humanity when I can store all my wealth cryptographically, and I know 12 words in my head. No one can take it. It doesn't cost me any money to secure it. I don't need an army, and I can take it with me anywhere I go. Like, if you just take that and then fast forward that, imagine back to, like, we walked for 5,000 years and then we had a car. For all of humanity, we've had to struggle to store our value so someone doesn't steal it. And now I don't have that problem anymore. Like, it's it's a massive shift to think about. And then if you think about, like, under the last election, the active sitting president got kicked off of all the social media platforms, what we may consider town squares or whatever, communications. And an active sitting president, your friend Robert Barnes, I heard him say, if they can do that to an active sitting president, imagine what they can do to you, right? Yeah. And then everyone left Twitter, and then they went to Rumble, and then Apple and Google kicked them out of the Play Store, and then Amazon kicked them off the web servers.
Right.
And what did people say? You probably saw some of these comments like, well, they're private companies, they can do that. Okay, so I should go build my own app. Well, those are the Play Stores. The iTunes Play Store is private. Okay, I'll go build my own Play Store. Well, the iPhone. Oh, then I'll go build my iPhone. And then they got kicked off of the internet. So do I have to go build my own internet? The answer is yes. And the answer is it's there right now. Bitcoin is not just a new form of money. It's a new decentralized platform to build the whole world's value on. So, and it's being done right now. So as I said, we already have applications today where I can send you chat messages peer to peer like Bitcoin, but not going through Telegram or Signal servers, peer to peer.
Yeah. So I understand how that increases freedom. Where I try to connect the dots is try to say, let's assume that, because what you're doing is you're solving a problem of centralization with communication, whether it's with Facebook, whether it's with Twitter, whether it's with YouTube, what have you. And it would be great to be able to solve those problems. But let's just say for a moment, we woke up tomorrow morning and those problems were solved. Then okay, so the next step is, how does that allow us to create more goods and services?
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, that's how we become more wealthy. Going back to,
Well,
I think that was our earlier interview where we were talking.
It's a little bit of a long way around. It's not a one for one, because as we talked about in our previous conversation, it's hard to really trace down all the effects that this fiat money system or central banking has, right? But one of the big ways that it affects things, as we discussed earlier, is that it takes productivity away. Right now, I'm forced to be this. I'm forced to deal with this centralization. I'm forced to deal with my money supply evaporating. I'm forced to be an investor, and it's taking away productivity. Right, so that's a big one. So it's kind of an indirect way. But let me say this. So like right now, what's happening? Okay, I talked about how steel was part of the technological revolution in the 1800s. Steel, and steel gave us the hardest asset, the hardest whatever it is, commodity. It is new technology that allowed us to build new institutions, new bridges, new buildings. So it allowed the harder the material. Before that, we were using brick, right? So we could only go so big. Now we have steel.
4 stories, I think it was.
What's that?
I think brick only allowed you to go 4 stories.
Yeah. So now when we have a new base, we can build new things. So what's happening is, now that we have this new decentralized system that can't be censored, you can't be shut down, you can't be censored, you can't be stopped, can't be blocked. It's allowing us to start building new things. And so what we're already starting to see is a massive amount of freedom-loving patriots, free thinkers are coming over and starting to build new things on this new platform right now. Now, if we went back, if you and I are having this conversation in 1996 or 1997, and we'd be discussing the internet, and I know you're old enough to remember this, people, it was like, I guess we could go onto like chat boards and we could send electronic messages. We might have envisioned a world that maybe one day we bought products online. Although I started an e-commerce business in 2001, and I literally got laughed out the door. People told me they wouldn't even sell me their products. No one would ever buy anything online. That was in 2001. So 1997, it was like chat rooms and email. We never would have imagined that my car would be hooked to something called a cloud, using something called social media to navigate me around traffic in real time. Because we didn't have any of those building blocks, but we needed that foundation to attract people to build. So if we were already starting to see people come, and now they're starting to, I think you would agree that the system is corrupt, right? And there's really no saving it. And so that's the political system, that's the monetary system, but it's also the education system. It's also the health system. Like, you're not going to go fix those things. And so rather than trying to fix those things, it's being built in parallel right now today. So with this new foundation, we're already starting to see people coming and create new systems. So for example, there's a guy right now setting up decentralized farming. I can hire someone to raise a cow for me right now, getting around all the FDA regulations, because they're not selling me meat. They're just raising an animal for me. They're setting up decentralized education, pods of 15 students, right? Everyone's doing homeschool today. Doctors that are now providing medical care on a private basis. You're probably like me. I pay a lot of money for health insurance, but I still pretty much pay out of pocket for everything. So I want better care. And so we're starting to see people, back to the Atlas Shrugged we talked about before, people are leaving one system to go to the new system that's like steel that they can build on. And so it's more about the long-term effects. Just what fiat does, it takes it away. It takes away productivity. It takes away ingenuity. It takes away communication. The communication is how we share ideas and we vet ideas, and it sparks imagination. And I go build off of that. So fiat is like a reverse flywheel, right? It takes away. This is a flywheel that builds up. And so while I would agree with you, it's hard to see right now a one-to-one return. You have to have a little bit of imagination, kind of using the internet example, and realize like, if we have a place we can share ideas and we can't be censored and there's more freedom and more creativity and all this new stuff can be built and it can't be taken away.
Yeah, and I totally understand the advantages. And even if it doesn't increase productivity, and it increases personal freedom and our ability to
But
live our lives with more liberty.
but wouldn't you say, George, that personal freedom does increase productivity?
Yeah, I would. But I think the bigger the thing that moves the needle even more is the fact that hopefully Bitcoin would be, from a philosophical standpoint, if it pans out, it's able to create hard money, sound money, whether it's base money that the government, and it takes that power away from them, so we could go back to a system like we had in the 1800s, where it was privatized. Now, even though back in the 1800s it was more centralized, but it was private, I think in a Bitcoin world it would be even further decentralized, because you wouldn't even need a bank. I think that they would still exist to some degree because people would want a return on their Bitcoin. But see, the thing there, it is the Bitcoin that allows for deflation to actually take place, which is the benefit. But the benefit there really is deflation. The benefit is the free market actually being allowed to do what it does well, and not have the government intrusion. So I just want to point out to everyone that the problem still goes back to the fact that the rules and regulation and the overreaching of the government getting involved with the free market, that's the real problem right there.